Hello, my name is Eric Freeland. I'm here doing my IFR flight plan for my Aviation 410 course, spring term at Liberty University. So our objective of this is going to be finding our airport of use, determine the best route. We're going to take a look at the weather and determine if the flight is safe to take. It's just a real quick overview. This is going to be the IFR flight plan, so we should already know how to do a nav log and create that, so that should already be known to you how to do that. So we'll take a look at a few other pieces of information that might determine whether or not this flight is safe to take or how we're going to approach it. So for our flight plan, we're going to start out by looking at least a 50 nautical mile flight from our starting airport of KFFC here in Peachtree City, Georgia. So we need to look at what our options are. Here, we'll look at what we have available to us. So our options that you can see here, it's kind of hard to see on the screen here. This is just a picture taken from ForeFlight showing you the 50 nautical mile ring from the airport that will determine where we can and cannot go. So there are a few places, all these little magenta and blue dots here are different airports. So we'll look and we kind of see anything outside of this outer ring is going to be open to the 50 nautical mile minimum that we would need. As you can tell, this blue shaded area here, that's going to be the class Bravo for Atlanta. So we're down here towards the bottom of it. So when we're picking our airport, one thing we need to keep in mind is if we pick one up here on the north end, are we going to be able to get cleared through all this airspace to make it to the north, to the airport that we want to use? So just like with VFR flying, that one's going to be a big take here because Atlanta is a really big airport, so it's really busy and it makes it hard to get cleared sometimes to go on the north end. So we'll take that in consideration while we're looking at everything else. So for me, I think that we've got a couple options. I think 3 airports to the south of Atlanta would be better to pick from because of the fact that you don't have to worry about getting cleared through that class Bravo airspace. So I think that when you take a look at those 3, would be the best choices. So for me, the 3 that I thought would pick the best would be KPXE and KMAC, as well as KAOU, which both KPX has 1 runway, as well as KMAC, and then KAOU has 2. So keep that in consideration too on picking out your airport, because if say winds change or something happens with the weather, you know, if you only have 1 runway, you know, you're kind of stuck to that runway. Whereas if you have an airport that you're going to land at that has 2, you have a little bit better chances of getting more favorable wind when it comes to landing and stuff like that. Also with KAUO, which is going to be Auburn, that one does have in my opinion, a more direct route to that airport. So being we're here at Instrument, it would be easier to learn the process of flying, you know, in the clouds or simulated to a more direct route than it would be getting bounced around to different routes and waypoints and stuff like that. So it'd be easier to just do it this way. So for the route, I just plugged it into ForeFlight. As you can kind of see here, we'll start up here and we'll come to this waypoint to join the Victor 222 radio to LaGrange VOR. And we'll come south to the Columbus VOR, and then from there we can shoot over to the point of Albee, which is where we'll start our instrument approach into Auburn. And as you can see here, we've chosen 6,000 feet. Would be plenty of radio reception out here down towards Auburn. The minimum off route is 4,000, so it's down there in the bottom corner. So that's something to keep in mind too when picking your altitude, to make sure that you're meeting the making sure that you have the separation between the ground and your plane. Especially being in the clouds, you want to have as much room as possible, in my opinion. So for here, we're going to start out. We're going to look at this instrument approach plate. This is the top half of the approach plate from Jeppesen. This is going to be for the Auburn ILS runway 36 here. So the easy way to brief this is you're going to start up top with your weather. So they have an AWOS. It's 132.575. We should be talking to Atlanta approach on 125.5. Next, we have the Atlanta center at 120.45. Then you have their CTAF, which is going to be on 123.0. So when we come into land, we get handed off from approach. That's where we'll go. Just a quick little reference point. If you're in the G1000, the G1000 automatically will assign the localizer frequency when you do activate the approach. Our final approach course is going to be at 005 degrees, and then we should be at Albee at 2600. Our decision altitude, which is going to be 957 or 959 feet, and this kind of tells you a little bit about the airport. This is just saying that the airport elevation is 777 feet, and then the touchdown zone elevation is 759 feet. If we have to go miss, we're going to climb to 1500, then a climbing right turn to 3000 direct to the Columbus VOR and hold, or is directed by ATC. So this is kind of outline. This right here is the Columbus VOR, which is where we're going to come from. When we hit the Columbus VOR from the LaGrange VOR, we're going to follow this course in of 253 until we hit Albee. At that point, we'll come down and we'll do a procedure turn, come back in, and follow the localizer into the airport. So this is kind of the path in which we'll take, and then as well as the clearances that we have to make sure that we can land at that airport. So as we stated here, we'll hit Albee, and then we'll come down, and then we'll come back in on that 5-degree course at 2,600. Once we hit Albee at 2,600 feet, that's when you know you've intercepted you've hit the final approach point on this ILS, and you'll intercept it and follow that glide slope in till you hit the missed approach point, which is going to be the runway. At that point in time, if you have the runway in sight, you can continue. If you don't, then we'll do the missed approach procedure. So for us here, we're going to be in an A category. So we need to look in this little box here. So for us, with the our decision altitude is 959, and we just need to make sure we have 3/4 mile visibility. So if the localizer was out and the glide slope was out, then we would follow into this box here, which would make our minimum decision altitude 1140, but we would still have the 3/4 mile visibility requirement to make sure that we meet that. If for whatever reason we're doing the ILS just to get down a little bit closer, we have a circle to land here. The circle to land will be at the 90 knots, so our decision altitude is going to be 1280. From there, we need to make sure we have a mile visibility to make sure we're good on that. So just a brief clip from weather. We're going to look over. It's pretty nasty. It's been pretty overcast. All this area right here that's dark and covered, that's overcast layer. It's pretty low. This is just a brief look at the METARs along the way. As you can see here, there's a lot of IFR, low IFR, IFR, some more low IFR. At this point in time though, Auburn is not showing any weather. The other thing we have to look at is the air mets. And right here is kind of the main one right here. As you can see, it's freezing levels from 0 to 9,000 feet. Due to ice, it's a moderate, so that's pretty rough. We took some winds and temps here. We'll look at Birmingham as well as Montgomery's. So winds aren't too bad. Here they're pretty consistent, pretty steady, mostly calm. So that shouldn't be much of an issue. It's really blurred out on the big screen, but this is kind of what our course is going to look like, as well as our heading, like what we're looking for, kind of our time and route and everything that we have there. So briefly we'll go over the weather. We don't know what the weather's doing at AOU at this time, based off of the way that the winds are often looking, as well as the other ones. It's going to be, basically, we can say that it's going to be going north. So that'll work for us on runway 36. There is icing as well as IFR conditions out and about. So the main one is the icing. That one, since we're in a Cessna, we don't have the capability to fly on ice. And then areas are reporting low IFR ceilings, which means if it gets too low, we may not even be able to take the ILS in. And then here we're just gonna make sure that we're legal. Right here we're gonna cover that we have to have 45 minutes of flight of fuel after the airport of intended landing, and then to the alternate airport at cruising speed. And then the type of equipment we need just everything from 8 tomato flames that we learned back in private, and then the additional grab card, which is your generator, radio, altimeter, ball, clock, attitude indicator, your rate of turn, and directional gyro. So that's going to cover basically everything here. I would say this would be a no flight. We have to wait for it to either warm up or clouds disappear and simulate it. So hope you guys understood a little bit of it, and hopefully this will get better as time goes on. This is the first time I've had to do one of these, so thanks.